We now present the second life membership. Greg Wanless has contributed to the Canadian theatre ecology for 30 years and more. He is highly regarded as the founder and artistic director of the Thousand Islands Playhouse, of course, in Gananoque. But his generosity of spirit over the breadth of his career has also extended to seasoned colleagues, students, and actors just out of school. Please welcome to the stage a dear friend of mine, an old colleague, Rod Beattie, himself a Dora Mavor Moore Award winner, who's sometimes better known as his alter ego, Walt Whitman. Jenny, you've spread your disease around here. Yes. Walt. No. Anyway, we invite Rod to come up and present the life membership to Greg Wanless.
As you all know, Walt Whitman is my next one-person show. Didn't want to let that loose right now, but it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see so many of you, and it's a great evening. I've known Greg Wanless longer than anyone here, and I can say that with some confidence. Greg joined the Stratford Festival Company in 1976. We rehearsed shows together. We were in the same dressing room. I think we may even have played bridge together before the opening of the season. And my parents came to the opening, and afterwards, before saying anything at all about the play, my mother said, "Who is Greg Wanless?" And I said, "Well, he's an actor in the company. We're friends." And she said, "But is he not Wagawi?" And somewhere way, way back in my memory, I realized why Greg had seemed familiar, because we had lived on the same street from the time that I was 2 years old until I was 5. And although I obviously had trouble saying his name, he was a kind of slightly older hero to me. We lost touch after that when my family moved away, and after the unfortunate rock throwing incident. But then there we were together again 22 years later at the Stratford Festival. We spent 5 glorious seasons in that company under the direction of Robin Phillips. And in 1980, our paths parted again, and Greg moved on to become the founding artistic director of the Thousand Islands Playhouse. And it turned out he really is a hero. For the next 31 years, he and the fabulous Catherine Mackay inspired and pushed and prodded and cajoled and fundraised the Playhouse into becoming the most prosperous and most important live professional theatre between Toronto and Ottawa. The numbers themselves are impressive: 189 productions, more than 1,300 equity contracts. The numbers in the audience are even more impressive. The Playhouse has had more bums in seats than any summer theatre except Stratford, Shaw, and eventually Soulpepper. It became, in fact, the regional theatre of that region between Toronto and Ottawa. This became especially true with the addition of a second performing space, the Fire Hall Theatre, and the establishing of a young company with an outreach program and a tour within the region. And as we all know, in this country, our regional theaters are really the backbone of our profession. And they are many and various, not unfortunately as many as they used to be, but they've all been started by people of extraordinary courage and vision and determination. In short, by heroes. Occasionally, they've been non-practitioners, people like Joe Schachter in Edmonton, Patty Stewart in Victoria, but more often, they are inspired professionals like John Hirsch in Winnipeg, Walter Learning in New Brunswick, or in Calgary, Christopher Newton, or in Gananoque, Greg Wanless. Through it all, Greg and Catherine have managed to keep the theater a friendly, down-to-earth kind of place, deeply rooted in the community, both the professional community and among the people of the town and of the region. There's a sense of family pulling together about the Playhouse, which it has never lost and has sustained and inspired it throughout. I was reminded about this reading an interview with Catherine when she talked about an evening when the power went out in the theater when I was doing one of my performances. Gananoque had, I don't know, maybe it still has, one of the few remaining local power commissions in Ontario. People in Gananoque refer to it as the Gananoque Water and Sometimes Power Commission. Catherine, stage managing the show, got the volunteer ushers to come down to the ends of the aisles and shine their flashlights on the stage, and we finished the performance like that. And people in Gananoque still remind me of that night, and many of them say that I never looked better. And speaking of family playing together, among the impressive numbers associated with the Playhouse, of which Greg and Catherine are justifiably proud, that under their watch, as it were, more than a dozen marriages or relationships have been formed, and about 24 babies conceived.